Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. My name is Lala and you're watching Lala Level Up. Guys, I'm back again with another video. Before we get into this crazy title, can we just get into my hair? Can we just get into it? I tried a new hair routine and it's really giving. If you want me to do a tutorial on it or let you know what I did to my hair to give myself these curls, let me know in the comments. Leave a comment, let me know if you want this new hair routine because it's really giving. And yes, I'm highly impressed. Also, I want to make sure that you're subscribed to my channel, that you are thumbs upping the video, and that you make sure to leave me a comment before you leave. I just want to thank you, like always, for being here with me, having this chit chat story time. This video is actually a start of a new series here on my channel called From Girl to Goddess, which is going to be about me sharing story times that will definitely show my transition, my transformation from where I was to where I am. I've experienced so much in my life and I just really want to share those experiences and how I grew from them. So I'm really excited to be starting this new segment and I really hope you guys can gain something from it. In every single one of my story times, there will be a lesson at the end. So make sure you stick around to the end to get that lesson, babe, because the story times are not going to be just entertainment. It's all going to come full circle. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into this shit. So as you see by the title, I was homeless in New York City. And it's really crazy to think that I got to that place because right before that happened, I was in a very great place in my life. I had a very good paying job. I was an assistant manager in a field that I was working in for a very long time. I always wanted that position. I finally got it. I was making good money. I was feeling like, okay, I'm starting to get a little bit direction because for a long time, I really felt kind of lost. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. Growing up, I always wanted to be a teacher. And then as I got older, I talked myself out of being a teacher. And then I just didn't know what to do. So I'm like, okay, so this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to hair school. I always was into cosmetology and beauty and things of that nature, the aesthetic. So I said, you know what, let me see what hair schools are in New York. Because if you don't know, I live in Connecticut. New York is only an hour, maybe an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours, depending where you are in Connecticut, away from me. Where I live right now, it's an hour and a half from me. So I was thinking, okay, I really want to get out of Connecticut. I don't want to be here anymore. I've been here all my life. There's nothing here. I want to move to New York City. So what am I going to do in New York City? I want to go to hair school. So I devised a plan that I was going to save up as much money as I could at my job as an assistant manager and that I was going to move to New York City. I knew that I couldn't afford the rent on my own, so I was going to follow my pride and get a roommate, which I always said I would never do. I'm still I would never do that because how am I gonna live with somebody I don't know? Are you even clean? That's my biggest thing is of course, well, safety first, but then the cleanliness. I'm just a very clean person. I like to think I'm a very clean person. I like to know that I'm a very clean person, and I just feel like I cannot be having someone in my space. And I like to be free. I like to be naked. I like to be in the comfort of my own home, alone in my home. So yeah, I probably still wouldn't do a roommate situation to this day. But at that time, that was my plan. I ended up going to it wasn't an open house. I can't think of the word right now. But at the cosmetology school I was going to go to, it was in Brooklyn. It was actually, what was the name of the school? Brittany's Beauty Academy. Shout out to Brittany's Beauty Academy. If you go there or have been there or know what I'm talking about, it's in Brooklyn. And I loved the school, and I was so happy. I had went there for, it wasn't a consultation, I can't think of the word, but I went there to like pay my deposit. I guess it was an open house. You go there, you see about the school, they give you pamphlets and information. I don't know why the word is not coming to me, but you know what I'm talking about. It was one of those at the school. So I went, I paid my $100 deposit. They gave me my receipt. The whole day, it was so cool. Like, you was learning. Like, I was just starting to get excited about the things that I was going to be learning. The other people who was going to be starting the semester with me. Me being in Brooklyn, which Brooklyn is so lit, full of so much culture and music. I love music. I love the arts. And I was just so excited for my new upcoming life in Brooklyn and me becoming a hairstylist. Like, I was lit. I'm like, okay, I got some direction. I did know that me becoming a hairstylist was not going to be the end all be all, because even though I was interested in it, I wasn't passionate about it. But I'm like, okay, well, this is something I can do for now. And I could always end up opening my own salon. Like, so I thought it was something that I could do for now, considering I ain't have no damn direction and I just needed to do something at that point, right? So this was my plan, and I was very happy about it, you know? And I was going to do it on my own. I didn't want no help from no one. I was going to save my money. I was going to get a roommate, and I was going to be living my best life in Brooklyn. Or so I thought. So I have 4 sisters. This one sister was living in New York City at the time. I did tell her my plans to move to the city. At that time, she did need a babysitter for my nephew. So she basically told me, hey, Lala, I know you are trying to move to New York City anyway. So if you want, you can just save all that time that you would have been waiting. Because, you know, I have to wait to save up money to move. And she was like telling me that, you know what, I really need help right now with my son. So, you know what? You can just quit your job. I'll hire you to be his babysitter, to be my nephew's babysitter. And I'll just pay you, and you can stay in my home up until you save up enough money with the money that I'm paying you and get your own place, or the roommate situation you've been wanting to do. I'm willing to even pay you more than your job is paying you at this point. She was going to pay me like $1,000 a week. And to me, it sounded perfect because, for one, I was going to be around my nephew, and he obviously lives in another state, so I don't get to see him every day. So I'm like, that would be awesome. I would get to spend so much more time with my nephew. We'd be able to bond. I'll be in New York City way quicker because my sister is willing to pay me to work for her. And I can be in New York City by tomorrow. And I didn't like my job. Like, even though I was getting paid good money, it was a very stressful job. So if she's telling me that you can quit your job tomorrow, I'll hire you and I will help you speed up the process. And yeah, so it sounded like a great deal to me. You know, I'm thinking that it's all going to work out. I was happy. And I was silly because even though this was my sister and I wanted to trust her, I did trust her. But sometimes things don't always work out the way that you think they're going to work out. So me just jumping the gun, doing something very unsmart. I will never tell anyone to do the dumb shit that I did, but I ended up calling up my job. Yeah, I quit. And I quit my job and I moved to New York City. That was so foolish of me because my job was my fucking livelihood. And I quit my job to move to New York City to help out my sister. And I thought I was helping out myself in the same breath. But I didn't have to do that. I could have took the long road and done things my way. It would have been the longer way, the longer route, whatever you want to call it. But I would have done it on my own. And I wouldn't need any assistance. And things would have worked out better if I just stayed with my original plan. But nonetheless, I don't want to get too ahead of myself. Called on my job. bitch, I ain't coming in. I ain't coming. I quit my job. Packed up my shit, and I was in New York in like 3 days. So I was in New York now. I was hit. I was happy. I said, hey, I'm a New Yorker, hey. And I was excited to embark on my new life in Brooklyn. Well, in New York, because my sister lived in Manhattan. So I thought it was perfect. So for the first few days, it was kind of rough. So me being essentially my nephew's nanny, he's on a routine. I'm waking up ass crack of dawn, and I'm like really being like his nanny. It's not like, oh, I'm his aunt, so I get to slack off. Like, no, like this is a legit job. She's paying me to do this. I have to do things a certain way, her way, by a certain time, by a certain schedule. My nephew is like terrible too, so he's very fussy. He's not super used to me taking care of him because I live in Connecticut. I don't see him all the time. So he's even more fussy with me. So it's a little bit of a struggle, to say the least. So leading up to the end of my stay at my sister's house, I was there for a total of like 6 days, right? So just to backtrack a little bit, my sister and I have a pretty tumultuous relationship. I mean, I guess I wouldn't say that it's tumultuous in the present day, but it has been the entirety of my life. Our relationship is really up and down. We have a great relationship. We have a great sisterhood when we are not living together. See, that's the thing. We can't live together. I know if you can relate, please leave me a white heart in the chat. Because, you know, the white hearts are part of my brand. The white and black hearts, that's my thing. If you haven't noticed in the description, I always use the white and black hearts because that's my thing. Okay, so, yeah. Please leave me a white heart if you can relate to this. That, like, you and your siblings are great. You just can't live together. You just can't live together. Or you have a tumultuous relationship where sometimes you're amazing and sometimes your relationship is terrible with them. Please, if you feel me, because I have 4 sisters. So growing up with siblings, like, and I'm going to do way more story times on my siblings because, 4 sisters too, all girls. So imagine that, growing up with the house, how catty it was and how much we fought. But like, yes, I know my people with siblings out there can totally relate. So leave me that white heart. My sister will be giving me a little bit of attitude here and there, but I just chucked it up. I wasn't trying to do the most. Even though she was paying me and I was helping her by providing a service, I'm just still happy to be in New York. You know, I'm just happy to be there. But mind you, while I'm there, she's not necessarily talking to me the best. She's like talking at me. She was definitely not treating me like a real nanny, because probably the real nanny she would have been a bit more friendlier to. But because I was her sister, she was being a bit more snappy. Do this, do that. What are you doing? She was being more, because I'm her sister. All right, let's get to the meat and the potatoes, right? That's why you're here. Meat and potatoes. And the gravy. Who doesn't like gravy? So, I'm talking like it's Thanksgiving. Damn, now I'm getting hungry. How many months till Thanksgiving? Let me stop, because I'm like definitely trying to be vegan now. So, what Thanksgiving am I having? There was this one day where me and my sister were not seeing eye to eye. Long story short, we got into this big blow up argument. She wanted me to go over her baby daddy's house. I questioned her about it. She was furious with the fact that I questioned her about it. But I think she was already upset that day, and then me questioning her about it really like triggered her. And she kind of just like, she absolutely blew up on me. We had this really big argument, this screaming match, back and forth, name calling. Like, it had to be honestly one of our worst arguments. Like, it was like really bad. It was low blows both ways. It was total madness, right? No physical fights, just this verbal, terrible, screaming, fighting match, right? Which does hurt me now to think about, because I really want to cherish the time that I have with the people in my life. I don't want to waste time arguing or saying terrible things to them that I can't get back. You know, once you say something, it's already out there and you can apologize, but you know, words really hurt. So, yeah, but we're going to get to those lessons at the end. We're going to get to those lessons. So, big fight with me and her. She ends up calling the cops on me. The cops never showed because this is New York City. They never showed, thankfully. But basically, we get into this big ass fight, and she's kicking me out. She's like, "You need to get the fuck out of my house." And I'm like, I just quit my job to like, what? I just quit my job. Sold my car. Did I mention? Because I don't think I mentioned that. I quit my job. I sold my car to move to New York City because you asked me to. I didn't have to. I was going to do it on my own way, but you asked me. You offered. I didn't ask. And now you're trying to kick me out and say, go back to Connecticut? I was stuck. I'm like, I know. I know I didn't just quit my job and sacrifice my whole livelihood to move in with my fickle sister who has now changed her mind after an argument. Like, bro, so obviously I'm in a whirlwind now because I can't believe she's kicking me out. I'm so hurt. And to me, it's like, I understand we got into an argument, but I'm your sister. And you're treating me like dirt. But nonetheless, we're going to continue. I'm over it now. But you see, I got a little upset right now because at this point, at this time in my life when this story happened, when I was experiencing this, it was one of the most traumatic times in my life. So talking about it again, I have healed from it, but it was very hurtful. So she ends up kicking me out. She calls the cops on me. And I just said she's turning her back on me. And I just gave up my whole life to move here and I didn't have to. I could have done it my own way. So that was just like really killing me. That I was trying to help you and it hurt me. So I'm hard-headed. I'm not trying to go back to Connecticut. I could have gotten on a train and went back to Connecticut. I have family in Connecticut. But I didn't want to. I said, bitch, I'm in New York City. I ain't going back. Ain't nothing for me in Connecticut. Nigga, I made it to New York. Nigga, I'm staying here. I'm going to find a way. So I stayed in New York. And an hour later, I was in a shelter. I was in a shelter in Queens, if I'm not mistaken. Bronx. I stayed in a shelter in the Bronx. I was in Franklin's Women's Shelter in the Bronx. And that's being in a shelter. That was my first time ever being in a shelter. I've never been in a shelter, not even in Connecticut. So imagine me being in a shelter in New York City, what the conditions were like, and how you were being treated in there. You can just imagine. It was very unruly. I remember just feeling like I'm not going to give up. If I go back to Connecticut, I'm giving up. So instead of me going back to Connecticut, I said, I'm going to make it in New York under any means necessary. So if I got to go to the shelter and figure it out, I'm going to figure it out. So at that point, I was homeless in New York City. And I was in the shelter in the Bronx. And even when I left my sister's house, I couldn't even bring all my stuff. I literally packed everything that I owned and I brought it to my sister's house. When I had to pack everything up and put it in the Uber to get me to Franklin Women's Shelter, I obviously could not bring everything with me. Like, it was just way too much for one person to be going to the shelter. And my sister just cut me off, so I knew I couldn't ask her to hold my belongings. So I just had to leave so much of my things at her house, and obviously she threw it out. So at this point, like, all I own is all I have with me. And I gave up so much clothes, so much shoes that, like, to me, I like barely had shit. You know what I'm saying? So it was a lot. So I ended up getting to this shelter. You go through metal detectors, and they ended up finding weed on me. The day before, I had just bought 2 eights. One was Blue Dream. The other one, I don't remember. White Widow. Blue Dream and White Widow. High quality gas. And I went to the women's shelter, and then the guard was like, you cannot come in here with that. This was before marijuana was legal. She was like, you cannot come up in this shelter with that. I'm not telling you what to do with it. All I'm saying is you cannot come up in here with it. Okay, like, what the fuck am I going to do with this weed? Because I just bought this weed. That's $80. Or it was like $100. I think I probably paid $50 for the eights. You know, in New York, that should be more pricier, especially for that high grade. So I'm like, I just spent $100 on these eights. Ain't no way that I'm just going to throw them out. So at that point, I was like trying to sell them. But like, how the fuck am I going to sell this weed? I'm in New York. Am I just going to walk up and down the streets? At that point, I'm just going to get robbed for the eights. And on social media, I can't really be like, hey, who want to buy this weed? I'm in the city, because everyone on my social media is from Connecticut. So I didn't know what to do, because I was trying to sell it to make profit, because at this point, I clearly need money. I'm homeless in New York. And bitch, honestly, I didn't know what to do with the weed. I couldn't get it off my hands to sell and make a profit, and I knew I was not about to throw it out. So I went right across the street to the park. I dug a hole in the ground, and I buried my weed in the earth. And that's exactly what I did. I said, bitch, I ain't throwing out this weed. I'm gonna leave this weed here, and I'm gonna come back for it, and I'm gonna get high. So, and I had to do this very low key, because I didn't want nobody seeing me, so they can come back to my spot and be like, yo, what was that girl digging? You know what I'm saying? So I had to be very low key. I digged it where I don't even know what I used. I'm not even gonna try to act like I remember what I used to dig it up. Probably just something that was around me. And I dug it up. I dug up a hole in the dirt, and I stuffed the 2 bags of weed on there, and I put more dirt on it, and I patted it down, and I said, all right, hopefully that shit is there tomorrow, because I can't do shit with this weed tonight. I was late. I had to get in the women's shelter. I could not have a bed at the women's shelter, because I'm trying to hold on to this weed. So I buried the weed, boom. Went back in the shelter. They took me in. They were able to hold some of my things, because I couldn't bring them all into the room with me. I obviously was sharing. It was like a big ass room with many beds with many different women. And, you know, I had to go through intake, all this stuff the next day. Well, before I even got to the next day, that day I had to go up like 5 flights of steps with a big ass suitcase. Like, my suitcase had to probably weigh like 60 pounds, 70 pounds. And I had to tug this big ass suitcase up like it was like 6 flights of stairs, and each flight probably had like 20 individual stairs. So it was terrible. Like, it was like, at some point I was crying just going up the stairs, because it felt like it was taking forever just to get to my bed, and I was so tired and I was so stressed. I had such a long day. I was crying all day, fighting with my sister all day. I have to deal with or try to figure out the direction of my life now. I thought I was going to cosmetology school, and now I'm homeless, and I don't know what the fuck I'm gonna do. Like, it was just like my mind was just in a whirlwind. Like, I just really could not, like, I really could not process the situation that I was in, and I couldn't fathom the facts. Like, I just could not. I couldn't process it. I couldn't come to the realization of what my current reality was at the time. So it was tough. I finally get up to the top of the stairs, and I feel like, yes, I finally fucking made it. And I put my shit down. I'm hoping nobody's gonna steal it. I charge my phone, and I'm scared as fuck someone's gonna steal it. All I fucking have is my phone. And yeah, I charged my phone and I fell asleep. Next day, I went to go meet with the intake counselor. These are people who talk to you about your current situation. How'd you end up in the shelter? What do you need help with? Actually, the system in New York, it actually seemed like they were willing to help you. Like, the girls that I was talking to in the shelter, they were telling me that, you know, the people there can end up getting you an apartment. They can help you. They provide resources for you. They help get you a job. They help get you interviews. They help you with your resume. So it's not like a shelter. Well, this particular shelter, it wasn't like you just stay there and you be there. They were actually trying to get you assistance and really help you get back on your feet, which was a great thing. So I meet with this woman. I talk to her about my situation, and she is telling me, like, I understand what you're saying, but if you have a better situation, like if you have somewhere to stay in Connecticut, I understand you don't want to go back, but if you have somewhere to be, you should be there rather than being in this shelter, trying to make it work in New York City when you don't have to. I even was dealing with Dusty Dan at the time. If you don't know who Dusty Dan is, you got to go back a few videos and watch my story time on the time I dated a Dusty. I was dealing with Dusty Dan at the time, and I made him aware of my situation. And he told me something that really stuck with me, always stuck with me, always will stick with me. Go back to the drawing board. If it's not working out, you have to go back to the drawing board. You have to go back to that blank canvas, and you need to figure out some shit. Figure some shit out. Like, I understand you had this certain plan and you want to stick to that, but right now some unforeseen circumstances have occurred and you are going to have to make some detours. You're going to have to switch some things up, go back to the drawing board. When he said that, it really stuck with me. And I'm like, yeah, I do need to go back to the drawing board. I have to figure it out. My sister kicked me out, which technically I'm homeless. But I was continuing to stay homeless by refusing to go back to Connecticut. Because I just felt like there was nothing there for me. And I just felt like a failure too. I feel like, damn, I've only been in New York for 6 days. If I go right back to Connecticut to my family's house, I'm sure they're going to look at me like, wow, you're a failure. Like, you moved out for 6 days and you ain't even make it. So I was just trying to avoid that at all costs. I was trying to avoid that shame, that guilt that honestly never even existed, because when I didn't go back to Connecticut, I was met with love. I was not met with any guilt, any shame, any questions. It was, I love you. I'm here for you. You will always have a place here. Which I really needed at the time. So that warms my heart and almost makes me a little emotional. But you know, my makeup is fleeked the fuck out. So who's crying? Yeah. So Dusty Dan told me that, and I'm like, yeah, Dusty Dan, you're right. But Dusty Dan is so dusty that he knew I was in this fucked up ass situation and didn't offer to help me in no capacity. Never offered to get me a train ticket. Never offered to, never even said, what can I do to help you? Nothing. He was just dusty. But this story time is not about him. I already made a story time about him. And then I ended up losing my card. I had a card. It wasn't a bank card. It was a prepaid card. But I did have money on it. And like somebody stole it. So I was just feeling like, yo, what the fuck is going on here? It was so dirty in the shelter. It was just not giving. It just makes you feel so low. Being in a place like that, like, you really feel low. You really have to be self-reflective at that point and be like, bro, how the fuck am I gonna get out of this situation? Like, I remember while I was in there, I cried a lot. I wrote a poem, which really helped me to express my emotions and to release. I love poetry, I love writing, I love music, and I had to release, and I did that while I was there. And I feel like there was purpose for me to be there, because while I was there, I did meet a few girls and I got to hear their stories, and I just felt like I was meant to be there. I was meant to listen to them talk to me that day. I was meant to give them words of encouragement. I was there to shed some light in such a dark place. I know I was. You be thinking like, you be thinking your life is tough until you meet somebody who's also dealing with a tough life. or tougher than yours. I heard some very heinous stories while I was in Franklin's women's shelter, and my heart goes out to those women, and I hope that they are okay. But there are people who are severely traumatized. It's tough to see the cycle too, because a lot of people in the shelter, they come to the shelter repeatedly. They constantly become homeless. It's just very tough. It made me very aware too on how we need to be doing a better job. Like, when it comes to the homeless population, when it comes to the conditions in the shelter, even when it comes to, you know, even more resources for people or ways to like prevent homelessness before it occurs. Like, it's just a lot. A lot of people there are struggling with substance abuse, childhood trauma, most of them, domestic violence situations. This was a women's shelter, so there was women who were trying to escape their abusers, women with their children. Like, it was a lot. It was a lot. And even with the cops there, or the whoever they are, the guards there, you had to cuss them out for them to listen to you. Like, in the Bronx, like, it was no, you're not getting respect unless you tell niggas you gonna respect me. Like, I had lost my card, like I told y'all. I lost my card. And I tried to say something to somebody, one of the guards, and they just brushed me off. And I had to say something to someone else, and they, like, brushed me off, too. To where, like, I ended up looking at my card history, and I saw that somebody used my card. And, like, I was so pissed that I ended up going right back in the building, because in the shelter, you can come in and come out during the day. A lot of them tell you that you have to leave during the day. You can't just be chilling around there all day. You have to leave and be looking for a job and being productive. You can't just stay up in there and chill and be in your bed all day. Actually, I had to go back in there and tell the guard, like, yo, somebody stole my fucking car. Like, I'm gonna need somebody to look at the cameras. I need someone to get on this. I had to literally talk to them like that. I had to talk at them like, y'all need to do something about this. And when I did that, they respected me. They looked at me. They was like, all right, I'm going to get someone to check on the cameras. I was like, is that what I have to do to get someone to do their job out here and to get real gully with y'all for y'all to, like, take me serious? Like, it was just, like, a lot, girl. So, or boy, guy. It was a lot, sure. A lot of men watch my channel. I was looking at my analytics the other day. I'm like, damn, all right, sure. I see my men tuning in for this insight. I love that for you. Totally love it for you. So anyway, let me stop sidetracking. Ooh. So yeah, it was a lot at the shelter. So I was there a total of 3 days, and on the 3rd day, somebody in one of the counselors there told me that they were able to get me a bus ticket back to Connecticut. I was like, thank God, get me the fuck out of here. Because at this point, like, I need to just go back to Connecticut and make it work. I just need to be applying for jobs. I need to make it work. I need to try to buy a new car. I'm like, it was just a lot. So I'm like, fuck it. At this point, just let me go back to Connecticut. I cannot stay up in the shelter no more. I need to get it together. They gave me my bus ticket, and I was on my way. And I was in Connecticut in like 2 hours. And when I came back, I felt really weird. I felt like, okay, my plan did not work out. I was supposed to be starting hair school in like a month. Seeing that I already quit my job, there's no way I was going to get another job and save enough money within a month to start hair school. So my current dream of becoming a hairstylist at that point was non-existent. I had to give that up. The good job I had was no longer going to be there for me, and there was no way I could get the job back because I never put in my 2 weeks. I just called and said I wasn't coming in. So I made a lot of mistakes by being so trusting of my sister. Even though I knew in the past we had such a tumultuous relationship, I didn't take that into account when I moved in with her. And I wish I did, because it would have saved me a lot of like heartache, but everything happens for a reason, and I'm very grateful that I did experience that type of hardship, even though it made me very depressed. I was at a point where I just feel like, yo, but I don't want to live. Now I got to start. Like, it can be very disheartening and discouraging to feel like you are starting over from scratch. I'm like, I have no job. I have no car. I barely have any money. I had lost my license. I think what it was, I think I lost my whole license out there. I mean, my whole wallet. So when I came back to Connecticut, I had to get a new license again. I had to do so much again. Like, it was just a lot. Like, it was just so much to feel like, damn, I had to peel the pieces of my life again. Once I did get another job, I was so grateful. I got another job like a month later. But I was very depressed for a while. I was depressed. I was hurt by my sister. I was mad at her. We didn't talk for like a year. It was very tough. I just felt lost. I felt like a failure. I felt stupid. It was a lot of negative self-talk on my end. It was extremely hard for me to get over that and to forgive her and to build myself back up. It was extremely hard to build myself back up. Once I did get another job, like a month later, I was extremely grateful. And I would walk to this job every day. Every day I would walk there. Every day I would walk home. And there were days, it was a 30-minute walk. In a car, it was only about barely 5 minutes. But walking, it took exactly 30 minutes. So I would walk there. I would walk back. Sometimes at like 8 at night, it would be dark at that time. And like, I'm like dodging skunks and shit. There was a few times I walked home in the rain. My coworkers offered to give me a ride. I would tell them no. Silly of me, I should have said yes. I remember my feet hurt all the time. It was a lot. Thinking about it now, it really makes me want to cry. Because I experienced so much and just so much trauma on my body. Like, my feet hurt so much from walking all the time. It was extremely challenging. And then I remember one day when I was able to get a car again, when I bought my car again. And I was able to get a better job. Then I was able to get an apartment again, the apartment that I'm in right now. And I remember one day I was in the bathtub and I was holding my feet. I just holded my feet and I put my feet together and I just prayed over my feet. And I just said, I'm so thankful. Wow, I did not think I was going to get emotional in this video. I just said, I'm so thankful for I just hugged my feet and I said, I'm so thankful. I'm so thankful for my feet. Oh my gosh, I did not want to cry. I'm so thankful for my feet, that they were my transportation and they took me where I needed to go. And I'm grateful for all parts of my bodies that they did what they needed to do to get me to where I needed to be. Because you really don't need anything other than yourself. God equipped you with everything that you need, and everything you get in addition to that is just extra. But it was very hard. It was hard and it was a process, but I did end up building myself back up. What I ended up learning was you don't take shortcuts. There are no shortcuts in life. If you want something, you need to do it the right way. By trying to take a shortcut, by trying to take the easy way out, by trying to just accept all the handouts that are given to you, it might seem like a blessing, but it's so much better when you just do it the way that you know you're supposed to do it. If I would have just said, you know what, sis, I appreciate that, but I have my own plan, so I'm just going to do it my way, things would have worked out for me if I did it my way. But I was willing to take a shortcut. I was willing to take a handout. And I was willing to essentially shit on my job and just quit on the spot when I shouldn't have done that. They didn't deserve that. I could have had enough common decency and respect to give them 2 weeks notice. It wasn't urgent. I didn't have to quit right then and there. But I did. Because I thought I was leaving my job for something better. And that's another thing too. Lesson number 2 I learned: the grass isn't always greener on the other side. I thought I was quitting my job for a better situation in New York, and I actually ended up putting myself into a homeless shelter. Not everything that glitters is gold. Looks are very deceiving. Not because something sounds good doesn't mean it's the best thing for you. And at that time, I know my sister, when she offered me to live in her home and to babysit my nephew, I know she was doing it in goodwill. I don't think there was any malice involved when she offered her home to me and a job for me. But even so, I still should have respectfully declined, because when you know something, you don't need to keep knowing it. I already know my relationship with her is tumultuous. I already know we used to fight a lot, and our relationship is better when we're not within close quarters, living within close quarters for an extended amount of time. I'd probably be with her for a few days, but for an extended period of time, no. We just clash. History is always gonna repeat itself. So if history has shown that you and this girl have always fought, y'all gonna fight. Y'all may be older and y'all may be adults now, but y'all just always gonna end up fighting when y'all live together. It just is what it is. So I should have known that. I should have paid attention to the history, how the grass is not always greener on the other side, and how I don't need to take any shortcuts in order to get what I want, in order to be in the place I wanted to be. Because if I would have just done it my way, it would have happened for me undoubtedly. There's no doubt in my mind that me saving up my money at this job and getting a roommate situation and going to this hair school would not have worked out for me if I would have just did it my way. But now I am grateful, because now I realized that is not my purpose. I do not want to be a hairstylist at all. After that experience, it caused me into doing a whole lot of soul searching. I did a lot of soul searching when it came to life, when it came to what I want to do in my life, who I want to be in my life, how I want to feel, the things I want to manifest, the home I want to live in, and how I never want to go to another shelter in my life, and how I never want to feel down and out like that, how I never want to just, put my livelihood into another person, because that's what I did. When I quit my job and I sold my car and I went to New York City to move into her house, I put my life in her hands and she shitted on it, Well, at that point, I'm not even down on her. But at that point, she chose herself over me. And I'm not even going to say that's a bad thing. I'm not going to say it's a bad thing. I know she could have went about it differently. But we've talked about it. We moved on. It's dust under the rug now, right? But at that time, it was very hard for me. It was very traumatic for me. It put me into a very depressive state of mind. I had some life-taking ideations that I never acted on, but I was just feeling like, I don't want to be here. I don't want to do this type of thing. What is the purpose of life? And that really helped me to find my purpose. So I am extremely grateful that I experienced that. I never thought I would ever experience that, but I'm grateful that I did. And yeah, that was my story, y'all. That was my story of how I was homeless in New York City. From girl to goddess, because trust me, that was a girl. That was definitely a little girl in that situation, and I have definitely blossomed since then. So yeah, happy those days are over. So y'all, if you have enjoyed this video, you already know what to do. Make sure that you thumbs up, make sure you leave a comment, and absolutely make sure that you subscribe to my channel. It's been a pleasure being here with you guys. Leave me some comments below if you have ever been in a situation where you got into a really bad fight with your sibling, if you have ever been homeless, if you live in New York City, if you even been to the shelter that I stayed in, let me know. And any thoughts you have on like the homeless community and the resources for them and how we can add like prevention to this. Tell me your thoughts. I really want to know. I want to dive deep on this topic. Guys, thank you so much again, per usual. And remember, you can be, do, or have whatever you desire. You are limitless. Until next time, Lala, level up.